there are really great adventure magazines out there, but now obviously with demise of all the others, there's so many people pitching to them.
Yeah.
That you're just clogged out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your story is. Like North Korea, for example, it's like
really
go to North Korea, and we did that trip because, and I'm willing to take that. That was an interesting one because we couldn't. It was quite an expensive trip. I think it was 16,000 euros for the four of us to go. That's like from when we landed in North Korea in Pyongyang to when we left again. Everything is included, so like a package tour.
So that is literally a package
that we worked out with the company that was
okay.
Like,
can you add some context for our viewers
again,
and listeners?
Tom had got some context.
So how you
really
ended up going to North Korea and why?
It's really easy to go.
Okay.
For most people.
Yeah.
You just go online and click on something and then it
Skyscanner.
Yeah. You go on the dark web.
Ryanair.
I think it's called. And you find a ticket. Ryanair. Yeah, exactly. No, it's quite they want tourism there.
Okay. I mean, is that why this opportunity presented itself?
So you can contact a state that there are agents. It's probably the wrong word again. Agents for the state tourism that
tourism agents.
They're out there that will put together a package for you. And we said, well, we want a mountain bike, and we want a mountain bike in these. Me and Tom had researched different areas of the country that have mountains that should have old trails going to old Buddhist temples and things in the mountains. We're going to go to these and these three locations. So we need you to put together a 2-week tour that takes us just to these, and we'll mountain bike.
And what's the communication like with it? It feels like it's all surveillance.
Yeah.
From the outside, from what I've seen online and stuff, I'm sure many people listening or watching have done the same. Everything is controlled, right?
Yeah, kind of. I think I got the impression that it's loosened up. This was 2018, so it might have changed now with COVID and things, because North Korea was the only place that COVID didn't hit on the planet, apparently.
Incredible.
I know. It's like should have stayed. So it's a fascinating place, and the moment you get off the plane, when you land, we were met by 2 fixers, minders, whatever you want to call them, who were great. They were our tour guides. And
were they actually cool? Yeah.
Yeah, really good blokes. And they were well into what we were doing. They were young. They were just dressed impeccably, like dressed really unsuitably for hiking up a mountain with us in the torrential rain that we got. But and that was, I think that's a good example of how the travel. I think you asked earlier about the bike and how that changes. And I use it was almost a cliche. I repeat it that much. I think the bike breaks down a lot of barriers.
Okay.
When you go to these remote places, because the bike is like a universal vehicle. Like people won't in some places you have horses, there won't be bikes, but generally around the world, if you turn up with a bike, everybody's going, "There's a bicycle."
Do you think it says fun?
It says fun. It says transport, and it says fun, and doctors use them, and nurses use them, and everybody goes to market on them, and kids give 10 their mates a baccy to school on them. I mean, bikes are everywhere, aren't they? So you rock up on a bike and everybody's like, "Oh, wicked," and you, pull some wheelies.
Show them a drop a post as well. That's pretty cool.
My wheelies are like, that's about it. So show them a drop a post.
Yeah. So universally, including North Korea, bikes go down well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all bikes in North Korea. There's hardly any cars. So, there's no private transport sort of thing. So we end up there, and then we had this plan to go up the mountain, and this first location, quite steep. It's a bit like Maple Forest. So actually reminded a bit like riding in Finale down, like quite steep, flowy trails, but we're hiker biking up them. And then the day 2 and 3, we're going to go up and we're going to bivouac out on the top of this mountain. Like, not only are we going to mountain bike in North Korea, of all places, we're going to go and camp out on the top of a mountain, and we've got permission to go and do this. So
it seems unreal. So
it is unreal, yeah. It's surreal. You can't.
When you got from the plane,
yeah,
right? You went to the airport. What happens there? Do you have to go on like government tours or any of that sort of stuff?
No, we did a bit of city sightseeing the first day.
What was that like? I'm really fascinated every bit of your trip. I'll be honest.
It's mind blowing. Like, it's a totally different environment. It's really, really clean. Everybody's just well behaved.
Were they real?
There's
people?
nobody
Was it like a
sitting down in the
performance?
corner with a fag, you know, like, all right, mate, There's none of this.
No spice
Not
heads.
popping in the pub, like, all right, what are you
Stella
having?
cans.
Although we did go in a microbrewery, that was pretty good there.
Microbrewery in
Yeah.
North Korea.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, absolutely. So it's just a different. It has a different pace. We went down in the metro. Then, sure enough, like in the city, there's a few things that they want you to see that they're proud of. So they take you to that. We finished at the War Museum, the Korean War Museum sort of thing, where they fight all about celebrating the victory over the Imperial American oppressors and this kind of thing. So that's all part of it. But what happened when we got out of the city and we got into the mountains, we hike up this mountain to bivouac out
With the guides
and with a local guide who joined us. It was this 73 years old, a local dude who chain smoked non-stop. He was that. All right then. All right. Do you want one of these, lads? It's special local. These are. Right. And he's just, and he's got like the bandiest legs and he's like Yoda. And he's just running ahead of us straight up this mountain, and we've got bikes on our back and we can't keep up with him. And he's just, every time we caught up with him, he'd just be like, chuck his fag down and he'd be off again, leading his way all the way up this mountain. And we get towards the top and it starts raining, and we're right on the edge of like a typhoon is coming over Japan, and we get caught in it. And the original shelter we were going to bivvy in, it's like this little sort of pagoda thing, was the most uncomfortable looking thing you could have. We've been to these other ones the day before that had like nice flat floors, like ceremonial roofs. Like, this is, I can sleep in here a week. you watch me. It's been the best night's sleep I'm ever going to have. And this one was the most horrible. Like, the floor was made of logs, side by side, like it's a log cabin that have fallen over.
Upside down.
How are we going to sleep on that? Even with the thickest thermarest, it's just going to be horrible. And we just went, do you know what? We'll just keep going. And there's nothing nearby to shoot, no bit of trail we could shoot on. Like I say, quite often you plan things so you're going to stay one night somewhere that's going to give you a bit of trail. It might be just 50 meters of trail with a bit of flow next to it that you can do a sunrise or a sunset shots on, just to capture that magic, right? There was nothing nearby. It was just bushwhacking. I'm like, this is a bit pants, isn't it? Let's keep going to the ridge. And we pushed on up to the ridge, and we're passing bikes up these rock faces, and it's getting a bit silly. And then this rain, this gale comes in, and it's just horizontal, like 50-mile-per-hour rain, just battering the hell out of us. And we just scurrying along this ridge until we found this little rock face, and we all just huddled below it. And there's this mad picture of us bivvying out, and it's the most uneven, rocky bit of trail, and we're all lying on this trail for the night. We didn't take bivvy bags because we thought we were going to be under a shelter, so we're sort of getting a bit wet. We're in the lee of these rocks, so we're a bit sheltered. Harold Phillips was with us, and Max Schumann, great blokes, like perfect fit for that sort of trip. Nothing fussed them. And Matt and Harold, the next morning, we wake up, and Harold's lying there, and we'd all put our sleeping bags sort of parallel with the rock face, just tucked in, like really uncomfortable. And he'd just gone, I'm German, I will put it across, this is comfortable. This way, it's nice and even. And of course, the whole bottom half of his sleeping bag had been in the rain. It hadn't been sheltered. And he'd woken up at about 3 a.m, shivering his arse off. And, but he's such a nice lad. He'd shivered until we had all woken up, and then I was like, all right, whoa, that was a bit rough, wasn't it? Like this. And he's like, yeah, can we start the stove now? I'm really cold. The stove's right there, just start it. But what
about the fixers?
So the fixers had slept out as well.
Yeah.
And they'd had the worst night. I mean, it was just, and one of them had never camped out in his life, ever. Like, not slept outside ever. This guy called Army, he was 26 years old, and it was just like the worst night. And I've got this picture of him in the morning, and his waterproof is quite literally a polythene, it's decorated with like clouds or something. It's like a polythene Mac, and that's what he's wearing. We're all like fully Gore-Texed up. Yeah, rugged adventure types. Look at us. And we've had the horriblest night, and he's just standing there like biggest smile on his face. And you know what? Like, because we did that, because we all went through that shared horrible experience together, they were our best mates.
Really?
From then on, the rest of the other 10 days of the trip, they couldn't do enough for us. Everything we wanted to do that wasn't on the pre-arranged or pre-agreed agenda, we just got permission. They were just like, yeah, do it. Yeah, we're coming back through Pyongyang. There's a skate park. Can we just stop the bus and go and ride around the skate park? Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Wow.
And they were just like that whole way. So I think there's that thing, that sort of shared. You get it in any part of mountain biking.
For sure, yeah.
That shared experience is what bonds you together.
The content I've seen from certain creators that have been to North Korea, it almost seems like they've been taken around and it's a bit of a act. And the people, the fixers, are sticking to a script and they don't move off that script. So they kind of did come off the script a little bit, or did they still?
We got off the script. We discussed all sorts of stuff.
Really?
And
are they aware?
Were
they aware
honest.
what was going on?
They were really honest. But we weren't filming it. So that's a difference, isn't it? Michael Palin did he was there about 3 months before us, I think.
Okay.
He did a great 2-parter on North Korea. And he pushes his fixer, his guide, to try and get her to talk about stuff. And I think that's really unfair to have her on film trying to push away from the party line, because that's her job and she'll be in trouble if she goes away from it. But because we were not filming, it's just they could talk to us about anything.
Wow.
But we came back into Pyongyang in time for this 70th birthday celebrations of the revolution, which was just this huge military parade and all this pomp and ceremony and stuff like this. And you felt them tighten up a little bit when we got back in there, because they were like, right, well, we can be seen now. So there is that, and I can understand it. It's a different political system. It relies on coherence. Otherwise that system will collapse. It relies on people to obey it. But it is a system that has its positives and it has mad negatives, and it's just way out there. It's a mad, and I like doing stuff in places like that, because it's an education for me, and it's good to just share those experiences,
Did it challenge all of your preconceptions about what it was going to be like? Did you have a really strong idea of what it was going to be like, or did you go in kind of thinking,
I rarely seem to have any preconceptions. I don't really read up on places much before I go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've found it quite fascinating. I've watched we've probably watched the exact same YouTubes and series and stuff like that. So I don't know from what you're saying. But then again, I guess mountains are mountains. If you're out there, you're all in the same boat, and that's probably what made you.
Yeah, and even people, that first location was quite a big tourist spot. When the last place we ended up was a big tourist spot for domestic tourists who go out to the mountains to go hiking for the day. And once we were up the mountain, they were high-fiving us and taking pictures of us all hiking. And there's no internet. And our phones wouldn't work or anything, so they can't share it with the outside world. I was like, don't take pictures. Your big reveal will be lost, of my story, man. Stop. And then I was like, wow. You can take as many pictures as you want. You're not going to share them anywhere else, are you?
Yeah.
So it's
what were your big takeaways then from North Korea? I'm still fascinated by them, I'm afraid.
Oh, right.
Was it I guess from what I've seen, there's a sadness about it, but that's probably what I've been shown or what's been portrayed.
Yeah.
Did you feel any of that or not really?
It's definitely, from what we saw, it's quite a poor country, but people are kind of, if you accept the system, you're looked after to an extent. Now, I'm sure this podcast will go out and there'll be people going, that's nonsense. I know people who've fled North Korea and they tell me otherwise. I can only go on what I've seen and what our experience was. But the fact that our guides could talk to us pretty openly, but certainly there was another tour guide we met in Pyongyang, a Western guy, who had said, it's changed in a couple of years before we went, because they were trying to soften it to open it up to more tourism.
Right.
Because I'm not an economist. Do I look like an economist? Not really. So I don't understand how this system
You're not wearing
works.
a mask.
No, it's like, I don't understand how money goes in and out, or they can only trade with China and Russia.
Yeah.
Blocked by everybody else. So part of that, when we were trying to get there, I said, we had real trouble getting a brand to back the trip, publicly. So we couldn't just say, okay, right, your sponsors, could they chip in and pay for us to go? So the brand's like, yeah, we'd rather not, awkward. So we launched a crowdfunder for it. And the first platform we put the crowdfunder on, it was like, we're going to do a mountain bike trip to North Korea. Help us cover the costs. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back with a story that's going to sell, but it probably isn't really, by the time I've paid my 4,000 plus the air ticket, you know, I'm not really going to make much money out of this, you know. So crowdfund it. The first platform, it was up for 24 hours and it got shut down.
Did it really?
It got closed down because it was North Korea. We got to start it again. So we started another one.
I don't even understand why.
It was because it's a regime and they contravened their platform's TNCs, I think they call them.
Okay.
You know? So we launched another crowdfunder and we were offering like, we'll send you a postcard from North Korea if you chip in like a tenner. And so we're quite a lot of, and if you chip in 50 quid or 100 quid, you can have a framed print or a print or something from the trip or of your choice. And we raised a fair bit of money, not enough to pay for the trip, but we raised a bit. And we sent like 120 postcards from North Korea.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they all arrived, even the ones to America. And we went out shopping for postcards and we were getting these postcards that were just everything from the most boring postcards. You remember like Martin Parr, he's a hero photographer of mine. He's done books called like Boring Postcards, where he's just gathered old postcards. They're like postcards of the M1 in 1962 with one car on it. You know, postcards of the city centre of I don't know, like
Slough.
Yes, Slough.
Just a roundabout.
The magic roundabout in wherever it is, Swindon, you know, when it was first built. These retro things. Anyway, so we had postcards that were just like that. They were just like a postcard of the science building. It's like, this is awful. So we started buying loads of these to send out.
Amazing.
And we just wrote on the back sort of, wish you were here sort of thing, and addressed them and sent them. But then we came across this place that sold like really political, like all that sort of North Korean, like people holding AK-47s up, you know, paintings, all these kind of Soviet-esque kind of revolutionary things that are just written in Korean, like death to the Imperial Oppressor sort of thing, like this. And all those we sent to America. Right, yes, let's see if these get through. And they did.
Wow.
It was
amazing,
remarkable.
yeah.
So it was pretty cool. People were
I wonder if they're actually geared up for tourists, those. Like, who's sending them in North Korea?
I know.
Where they sending them?
Yeah, they do get tourism. It tends to come across from South Korea. You can cross the border. There's more tourism down there, or from China in the north. It come across. So it tends to be Chinese or South Korean tourists coming in. Very few Westerners, sort of thing. Although I mean, there were other tourists there when we were there.
So can we link to the videos and stuff like that in the show description?
We didn't get videos there.
You shot photo.
It was just try and do a video thing there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's quite a lot of the destinations. You know, we look at. It's like, video could be quite tricky.
Yeah,
you know, it's a lot of permits and a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah,
to get a video.
So where did the photos for that? Where
that
people
story
see them?
Ran virtually every magazine around the world, you know.
Amazing.
Pretty much. I mean, I forget which ones. MBUK ran it. Bike in Germany. I'm sure there's stuff online. I think. Who would it be? Yeah, I mean, it's got it. If you Google it, I'm sure there's stuff.
Amazing.
There.
Yeah, we'll put some links in the show description for our friends, probably MBUK. When did your passion for like writing as well? When did that start?
Okay.
Hey
man, what an episode that was. You did amazing in it.
And so did you.
You shone like a star.
You shone like a moon.
Can we also put something up here that you can click on for the next episode?
How about we put a subscribe up there in the middle?
Yeah, love
We're going to put a video we think that our lovely companionship will love on your face.
On my face?
Yeah. And
so
on
you can't see me now?
Gone. And on my face, another video that we think people will love. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe. You guys are the best.
Peace and love.